English Heritage and the Archaeological Establishment believe Silbury Hill to be a chalk mound. UNESCO describes it as the largest man-made mound in Europe. Driving past this ancient monument today, it is quite easy to readily accept this simple explanation. However, if we literally dig a bit deeper and look further afield, is there something more to Silbury Hill than just a chalk mound? English Heritage goes further to confirm Silbury Hill to be a 4,500-year-old ceremonial chalk mound, inspired by ritual and built by our pagan/druid pre-Christian ancestors. The date is mainly due to archaeologist Professor Richard Atkinson, following the dig, sponsored by the BBC, from 1968 to 1970, which produced a series of archaeological programs. The TV series was designed to increase the public's awareness of archaeology by attempting to reveal the inner secrets of Silbury Hill, with the exciting prospect, as they progressed through the hill, they might discover a large golden statue of King Sil on horseback or some other treasure at the center of the hill. It was no surprise that no treasure was found. However, they uncovered an antler on the hill outside the entrance to the tunnel, which was radiocarbon dated to 4,500 years. As no exciting artifacts were found in the making of the TV program, the antler gained in prominence. Somehow it was decided this antler was used in the construction of Silbury Hill. The huge irrational leap soon followed. Silbury Hill must also be approximately 4,500 years old, and in turn confirmed the dubious date for Stonehenge at 4,500 years old. Interestingly, Josh McDowell and Don Stewart at a Yale University study yielded 3 different ages for the same antler: 5,340 years, 9,310 years, and 10,320 years. What caused variations in the result can be explained: limestone contamination of the sample. Did English Heritage choose a date to match the existing age for Stonehenge, and how could they possibly know it was used in the construction? Professor Atkinson didn't make any notes to record his dig, but he did in an interview in The Listener describe Silbury Hill as an enormously complicated and highly colored layer cake, and as a wedding cake, and the organic mound formed a kind of enormous biological club sandwich, a clue to something more than a random pile of chalk. So I was resigned to the fact that in our lifetime we would be left with the Atkinson legacy, and in my view the archaeological establishment had seriously misunderstood, misrepresented and mistreated Silbury Hill. But Atkinson left another legacy, an unstable English heritage monument, which caused a collapse in the vertical shaft, dug by Edward Drax with Cornish miners in 1776. This produced a gaping hole at the top of the hill in May 2000. When the hole appeared, some local researchers abseiled down the shaft and filmed some interesting discoveries: smooth walls and sharp corners, indicating the presence of a chamber inside the hill, and significant levels of electrostatic electricity, which destroyed a mobile phone, which had been accidentally carried down into the shaft. The discovery of the chamber confirmed the experience of Mrs. L.F. Brooks from Pusey, who spoke to the Marlborough Times in August 1962. She described how during the First World War she used to live very near the hill, and was told by her parents that there were caverns inside. When the entrance caved in 1915, a tiny passage led first of all downwards, and then altered course and proceeded upwards. Eventually it forked, with one way leading to a dead end, and the other to a cavern about as big as a room. Beyond this there was another cavern similar to the first. We took candles in with us, and used to write our names on the ceiling with the candle smoke. The whole system must have gone about 3 parts through the hill, she said. And it was very frightening. My brother would blow out the candle, and I would be terrified. On the interesting question of energy levels at Silbury Hill, I met Dr. Oleg Kavroshkin, head of Nonlinear Seismology Lab, Russian Academy of Sciences, Schmidt Institute of Physics of the Earth in Bosnia in September 2008. With sophisticated scientific equipment, he and his team had measured electrostatic energy, magnetic fields inside, and seismic waves emanating from the tip of all of the main pyramids in Egypt. He found that each pyramid had its own unique transmission frequency. So, the collapse of the shaft spurred English Heritage to embark on the Silbury Hill Conservation and Restoration Project in 2007-2008, and so began my serious research into Silbury Hill. The latest evidence found during this project in 2007-2008 by English heritage archaeologists including ants and insects plus car samples taken from the hill in 2002 would further confirm English heritage's assertion that Silbury Hill was 4,500 years old. However, no forensic science techniques or cleanroom facilities were employed in the removal of these samples from what is a highly contaminated and polluted hill. If this was a murder scene, any evidence would be deemed inadmissible. Similarly, from my investigations, the mollusk shells found deep inside the hill, which were dated by the University of Mexico to over 12,000 years, along with flint flakes of similar date found in pits at the top of the first stage of the hill. Sadly, this evidence must also be deemed inadmissible due to contamination and speculation. So it would be difficult to confirm my assertion that Silbury Hill was built around 12,000 years ago. Nevertheless, it soon became evident, with a number of discoveries, e.g. precise chalk blocks, large pieces of sarsen stone at the summit, chambers inside, flint flakes at the center, and a uniform sheet of material covering the base of the construction, that Silbury Hill is something more than a chalk mound. In fact, new evidence points to the distinct possibility that Silbury Hill was originally a white pyramid, and what we see today is the remains of a pyramid mound. English Heritage removed large pieces of sarsen stone from the top of Silbury Hill in 2007. Newspaper quote from Jim Leary, archaeologist, English Heritage, The Independent, Thursday, 25 October 2007. English Heritage made no attempt to find out the dimension, shape and the composition of another very important piece of evidence, an unbroken and uniform membrane/sheet of dark brown butter textured material, 5 mm thick and stone-free, which appears to cover the base of this chalk construction. Samples were sent to Arizona University, and they suggested it may have the properties of a form of mica called illite, which had been softened by water seeping through the construction over the many centuries. If we look further afield, it seems Silbury Hill is sharing scientific features and properties with lots of pyramids and pyramid mounds found on every continent on Earth. It appears from ongoing serious scientific research, notably with the Egyptian pyramids, that these pyramid structures were used as multifunctional energy sources, converting the natural flow of ionic current into electrostatic electricity, and biocrystalline stone transducers such as granite and sarsen into other forms of energy, including magnetic, seismic and air purification bionizer properties. So, there are lots of convincing scientific and non-scientific clues to suggest that Silbury Hill is something more than a heap of chalk. It is likely there may have been hundreds of similar constructions to Silbury Hill in this huge ancient Wessex complex, many of which have since disappeared. Intriguingly, at 4,500 years ago, there is no evidence of the population required in this area at this time to build the ancient structures and megaliths such as Stonehenge. Although it was badly damaged by the Saxons, who smashed the large sarsen cap to make way for a lookout post, and later by a series of tunnels dug by so-called archaeologists, it seems Silbury Hill survived because of its size, position and the gradually grassing over of the monument by nature. The Romans, who had a settlement close by to Silbury Hill, must have produced some drawings or mosaics of what was an impressive structure at this time. Hopefully somewhere in some stately home or museum is hidden such a record. Or maybe we have to wait for the progress of science such as ground-penetrating radar equipment linked to satellites to uncover untouched ancient sites, to be studied carefully and open-mindedly with the latest forensic science techniques. However, all claims to the age and purpose of Silbury Hill can only be speculation at this time. Nevertheless, I would encourage readers to visit Silbury Hill to relate to the unique energy of this ancient site and form their own ideas and opinions. Was Silbury Hill at the dawning of humanity, and who were the knowledgeable builders?